the past trading session, all sectors came up 0.21%. Information technology, consumer discretionary were the best. Real estate and utilities fared the worst. Looking across the heat map of the main stock market, Nvidia did well, Microsoft was up, Amazon up, but Tesla, Apple, Google, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan were down. And we can see real estate and the utilities turning red. A little bit later on in the week, the core PPI and the core CPI month on month, year on year will be coming out. One thing to just bear in mind, the CPI is anticipated to increase and the PPI is anticipated to decrease. With new data releases, American workers are feeling less confident about finding a job, especially those with lower educational levels. In other news, lumber prices are flashing a warning sign for the US economy. I covered this in an earlier video. Basically, lumber prices are pretty much in free fall. And we've seen building permits for new housing units on the decline as well. As a community, we go right to the source and the heart of the information. When we look at FedWatch, we can see the probability of a rate cut is currently 100%, an 88.4% probability of a 25 basis point decrease, and 11.6% of a 50 basis point decrease in the federal funds rate. So when people say, "Oh, I'm not sure if the Fed is going to cut rates," we know exactly what the Fed is up to right now. Looking into the futures globally, we can see there's positive momentum inside the US market futures, but just really small. The DAX a little bit down, Euro stocks, and the Nikkei pretty flat. We can also see that gold has some negative price momentum, and coffee, oh boy, it's getting more expensive. Turning to the crypto market, we've seen a fairly good just upsurge in crypto over the past 24 hours. Bitcoin is currently up nearly 1%. Go Biddy. Ethereum is really lagging. Its particular chart is looking a little bit at risk. And well done to everybody who followed through on that Doge call yesterday. I mentioned yesterday that even though BNB was going really nuts, it was likely to consolidate, and that's exactly what it did. Please let me know in the comments, were you fortunate enough to get into Doge? Or, of course, some of the memes, because Doge is a front runner for the other memes as well. Looking across the crypto market, we can see XRP is doing quite well, Doge is doing well, Pepe, Solana, but ETH is really lagging. Just a point to be aware of, crypto users are urged to take extreme care as NPM attacks hit core JavaScript libraries. Now what the heck does this all mean? Malware has been inserted into key code. The bottom line, when doing anything from your wallet, please make sure that the sender address is absolutely correct. The hijacking that is occurring inside this code swaps out the sender that you want to actually send it to and inserts a hacker's address in its place. But this won't drain your wallet, you still have to approve the transaction. Make sure you check every letter, every digit of that transaction ID. When looking into Bitcoin monthly returns, so far in September we've seen a positive return, 3.38%. In terms of liquidations, across the crypto market, 319 million, the predominance is short. And WorldCoin has been going absolutely nuts. The cheat sheet yesterday gave us some really good advantages in market, and it also explained what was going on price direction. Was it going up? Was it going down? And where did we anticipate it going? In the next 24 hours, it was very useful. Let's do a quick bolt through. Looking into row 1 of the cheat sheet, which is the VIX, the DXY, dollar yen, the 10-year, the 2-year, and oil. We're looking on a daily basis over the past couple of months, and we've seen that the VIX has been coming down. It's kind of basing at the moment, so the anticipation of upside price action is on the cards, and you should be aware of this. The 10-year is undoubtedly going down, the 2-year going down. The dollar has negative price momentum. Dollar yen is pretty much flatlining at the current time. It has a degree of upward price momentum, but this pair cannot escape the DXY, so please keep that in mind. And we're also seeing that oil has been in a downtrend. Popping across to row 2, which are junk bonds, the euro dollar, the Aussie dollar, gold, silver and copper. We've seen that junk bonds is going positive at the current time. This is really good for markets. This will push markets up. The euro dollar has also been doing well. In central banking news today, the ECB is expecting the rates to stay on hold. We've seen the degree of power inside the Aussie dollar that's starting to kick up. Typically, when we see the Australian dollar and the euro dollar and junk bonds and gold and silver and copper coming up, that typically lends itself to positive price momentum inside the stock market and crypto. And talking about gold, gold has been going parabolic, and its little brother silver is trying to catch up, while copper has not been invited to the party. Row 3 of the cheat sheet is the S&P 500, the Nasdaq Comp, the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Russell 2000. We've seen across those couple of months on a daily basis fairly good upward price momentum across all major indexes. But poor old Bitcoin, it's not feeling the love. It's been diverging recently. Looking into the futures right at this current time, we can see that the S&P 500 futures are looking quite healthy. We would anticipate a follow-through. The Nasdaq futures anticipate a follow-through, the Dow and also the Russell. And look at the Nikkei just going nuts. This is really good for the crypto market, which looks to be at a turning point, but more on that later. We're doing a process that allows you to stack probabilities. So let's have a look at row 4, which is the components of row 3. Some of them: Apple Computer, Microsoft, Tesla, Nvidia and Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy. We can see that Apple's been doing really well. Tesla is also doing well. Microsoft showing signs of stress and Nvidia showing signs of stress as well. Strategy has been following Bitcoin's momentum and direction. Going into row 5, which is the crypto market, total crypto market cap, Bitcoin and Ethereum. One of the things that we look at here, daily basis, past couple of months, we've seen a lot of good positive action, but we've also noticed this retracement, especially inside Bitcoin. We've not seen such a big retracement inside total crypto market cap because many of the alts have done quite well, but the appreciation in the alts has been really concentrated. It's very important that Bitcoin turn around literally right now. In today's next 24 hours, next 48 hours, it must come up, or you must anticipate and prepare for downside action. Now, why do I say that? When we look at how retail will look, when we look at the 50, the 100 and the 200, we're already starting to see a degree of bearishness enter into the crypto market. We'll look structurally at Bitcoin and total crypto market cap later, but it is a very early day for a turnaround if it follows through. And playing the odds, there is that potential because the S&P 500, the major market indexes and the futures are all pointing to upward price momentum. And this is precisely why we stack probabilities. If you look at the S&P 500, you might say, Ken, are you smoking something? Bitcoin is coming down and the stock market is going up. There's no correlation between those two things. But is there? Have a look at this. What do we see here? Bitcoin coming down, the stock market coming down, Bitcoin going up, the stock market going up. Oh yeah, but that's just there. What about previous to that? What about this little area of up and down? Oh yeah, that holds. What about this? That was coming down. Oh yeah, that holds as well. What about all of that? Okay, now you're starting to see there's a very big difference in people's capabilities to read charts. If you follow a lot of social influencers, you'll actually find that they can misinterpret the charts. And typically, people just explain what they've heard in other places. Therefore, this gives us a degree of confidence that we could see follow-throughs inside all of the crypto projects and especially Bitcoin. And it's very important that ETH start to turn around. It's looking very, very at risk. Please let me know your thoughts. Do you feel that ETH is going to go for it, or do you think it might roll over? Let's have a look into row 6, and row 6 is very important. When we looked at the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Dow, the Russell, and then we looked into Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, it's kind of the same thing. When we're going into row 6, we're checking under row 5. And Litecoin is quite important. We've seen Litecoin starting to get across, very, very early days. What about Bitcoin Cash? Yeah, that did it quite nicely. What about Binance Coin? Remember yesterday I said it was likely to consolidate. Now I'm going to go inside here and just show you more depth on why that occurred. And just before we do that, we can see Ethereum Classic starting to turn around. It's very important that ETH just go for it right now. And if Bitcoin does, ETH will too. Across the weekend, BNB guided higher and higher, and we were just here when we shot yesterday's video, and I said there was the likelihood that BNB was not going to continue to go up, but to go flat and to consolidate. Now, why did I say that? What on earth possessed me to say something so crazily? Well, it was correct, but why was it correct? Because we were getting up into all of this overhead structure. This is where all the sellers will come in and seek to stop the ascent from going up. But we knew there was momentum inside BNB. Now, BNB also threw messages and signals across to us about the meme coin projects, and that's why Doge was particularly interesting. Now, what have we seen since? BNB just basically flatlined, even though it did a kind of a god candle just literally after the video was aired. It didn't go too far, so a lot of people could have got caught in this green fire only to see it just decay rapidly. This is why CTKS structure is so important to understand. Now, what exactly is CTKS structure? These lines are not random lines. They're drawn up through 2 levels of standard certification. They statistically analyze all of price history, and they do so by layering in different strengths and different weaknesses. And we knew a lot of sellers were up here seeking to just take a bite out of BNB, whereas many people would just think, this thing is going for it because it went for it, it will just keep on going. And we knew something else. When you have overhead structural resistance, especially after a gap, it's likely to consolidate. I know personally, as a finance student, I always talked to my professors and said, why does price consolidate? Explain to me why it does. They could never do so. But we can now because of the CTKS method. Going into row 7, which is ADA, Solana, Dogecoin, and XRP, we were noting yesterday that there were signs of life, pretty good signs of life inside the crypto market, which added weight to the potential of Bitcoin, that blue line in the background, to start to come up. Now, why is that important? Because we know no crypto can escape Bitcoin's gravity. Now, what does that mean? If Bitcoin is coming down, the crypto market will come down. If it's starting to base around the smaller projects, and ADA's quite a large project, but I call it a smaller project in terms of Bitcoin, will start to turn around first. So that's why we need to keep our eyes on the lower levels of the cheat sheet. They're really important to understand. Now, ADA could do very well out of this. Now, does this mean we could expect a $1 target? Absolutely. We'll need to look at the structure, but yes, that's on the cards. And when we look at Doge, Doge was just literally in the very early stages of turning around yesterday, and it's really gone for it. I hope you did well on Doge. XRP is currently throwing some fairly nice signals in here. If XRP continues on its run, now what is that dependent on? It's dependent on Bitcoin continuing its run. If Bitcoin continues to come up, XRP will come up. If Bitcoin falls like this, XRP will also fall. That's why knowing where the structural resistance levels are on these charts is absolutely wildly important. When I was doing my finance degree, I always talked to my teachers, my professors, and said, I don't understand why things consolidate, why does price move in a step, why does it do all of these kind of things? And they literally had no answer for me. They basically said, oh, it's market forces, it's all sorts of things, but there was no science at all behind it. So I invented the science based on nearly 4 decades inside the markets. And if we look at Doge, we can see around this 23,700 mark, there's a lot of structure that Doge managed to turn into structural support, and then it went up to higher levels. Now, what does this mean for Doge? If Doge starts to break under the 23,700 mark, especially the 23,600, it could be signifying a bit of a retracement, not only in Doge, but inside the entire crypto market, because Doge is really feeling it at the current time. I also had the very practical question, how do we tell where these natural ceilings are in the market before they are printed? The answer? It's structure. So when we look inside Doge's chart up to the 25,600 level, we've got a positive CTKS gap, and just like Binance coin, we could start to consolidate around here. So we could definitely push higher if Bitcoin supports it, and then start to consolidate around here. Please let me know in the comments, what's your thoughts on Doge? We know that gold has been going absolutely nuts, but why did gold pull back here? Why did it find support here? And why did it go higher? Just remember, gold is undergoing price discovery, or so people say. Price discovery is an absolute myth. Now, we know that gold's inside the service, so we've marked up that chart, and it's literally 70,000 days worth. We can see at that 35.82 there was structural support through this area, also an area of structural overhead resistance. This was key for gold to hold the 35.82. If it did so, it would put the higher levels such as 36.40 in process, and that's what happened across the past 24 hours. Now, when we look a little bit higher on what gold could be doing, we can see immediately that around this 36.76 it could start to hit its head. So gold has had an incredible run of late. If we start to see flow of funds back into the Bitcoin ETFs, and we've had a couple of days of net outflows, if they start to come back into the market, that is really good news. Gold and Bitcoin do tend to move together, so just bear in mind that when we're looking at net flows, we have room to go higher inside gold as well. We've been tracking the key levels on Bitcoin, and we know that we need to get above 112,800 and confirm it as support in order to get back to the 120. It is looking reasonably constructive at the current time. And the good news is that we have a lot of underpinning structural support as well. So all in all, Bitcoin positive price momentum is on the cards. As I was explaining in yesterday's video, if the VIX continues to come down like it did through 2017 to 2018, we could absolutely see that blow off top across the crypto market. I'll be talking a lot more about this inside this month's service video. Nvidia is a very important stock for the stock market, is a central AI play, and the world's largest company, so it is really important that Nvidia doesn't roll over. When we look through the service paths, and these paths are explained inside the video each month inside the service, we've seen that just over the past couple of months we went consolidated last month, previous month, we were positive. The month before that, we were positive. And the month before that, we were positive. Now, just a thing to understand, these paths are not drawn to reflect current price. They're drawn to reflect structure. And when structure, you have enough positive momentum, typically it bounds up structurally to the structural target, I mean. Price always moves structurally. So what we're seeing at the current time, just the structural level just below that 165 is really important to keep your eyes on for Nvidia. Nvidia, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, it has to start turning around. Just a thing to understand these paths are drawn at the start of the month. Here we have about 4 days of trading. So these paths have already been drawn out to the end of the month, and they're explained inside the service video. These paths are never changed. So what they actually do is to give us an understanding of where price could go under normalized price conditions. It's very valuable to understand where price can head. For example, with Bitcoin, where could it head? With Ethereum, where could it head? Solana, ADA, XRP, Nvidia, Microsoft, gold, silver. If you're trading Forex, knowing where the Forex pairs can go, such as the DXY, which basically influences everything, is wildly important. And we do a fairly good job of predicting at the start of the month where things can go by the end of the month. We do it with regularity. If you're a Forex trader, please let me know. And if you got up to this part, please put the comment in about CTKS paths so I know you got here and you are absolutely awesome. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.